So let's compare the differences side by side because I think this really helps to bring home the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset quite nicely. So, somebody with a growth mindset believes almost anything can be modified, that nothing is set in stone, and that success comes from practice, from effort, and from learning. And also that mistakes are important and valuable learning tools. Failure is just feedback, and discomfort means that you're growing. It means you're trying. They purposely seek out challenges because it's quite energizing in a way. They seek feedback because it shows them what to improve. And they also know that achieving goals feels great, but the important part is mastering the process. I know for perfectionists that can feel awful to hear. But if we compare that to a fixed mindset, in a fixed mindset, you're either really good at something or you're not. Success comes from things you can't control, talent, genetics, and mistakes reflect really badly on you. Failure feels intolerable. Any kind of discomfort means that you shouldn't be doing the thing, whatever it is, and feedback always feels like criticism. So, this means that results become everything, and you try and speed through the process, cut corners, and get to the outcome. Now, if you're feeling personally attacked, I apologize. But I also know this mindset because we always want to skip to the good part. We want to skip the doing and get the end result, get the goal, get the fat loss, get the strength gains, because we don't really want to experience the ups and downs that come between the beginning and the end. Let's say the goal. The end sounds very final. So, that last one is really important for so many of us because how many times have you rushed that process to get the results and then wondered why it actually didn't last? It didn't feel sustainable. So, how do we actually build this kind of mindset? There are three practical things that we're going to work on. So, the first is to start using growth language. Now, language has a massive impact on how we think and feel about ourselves. So I'd like you to start noticing when you use fixed language and try to shift it. Simple things like adding a yet to the end of sentences, or working on, or putting in the rep. These small changes can signal to your brain that effort to create is change. For example, there is a big difference in how it feels to hear, I can't squat versus I can't squat yet, or I'm working on squatting. One feels like change is available to me and is about to happen, and one feels like a final statement. This is how it is, and there won't be any change. The second is you're going to find your mantra. Now, I know this might sound a bit spiritual, and I'm not a huge fan of affirmations, but what I'm actually talking about is a short phrase that anchors you to the positive goal of change. So think of it more about a positive self statement that you can practice. So something like, I'm capable of learning to squat. I am learning to squat. I'm living in accordance with my values. I'm making choices that support my health and well being. A mantra like this, or again, a positive statement, can feel like it helps to shift your thinking in the present moment before any kind of spiral can take place. And then finally, the third one is to track your behavior, not just your results. So when we focus on progress markers, we want to look at consistency, not perfection. So pick an area to work on and define a really small measure of success, and watch for evidence that you're growing, even if it's slow. If you're frustrated because you can't lift as much as you could before perimenopause, let's look at what you can do now that you couldn't do 6 weeks ago. When you start seeing progress in one area, you'll start believing it's possible in others. For example, with many of my one-to-one clients, we'll do habit tracking, and we're not looking for perfection, but let's take something as simple as eating iron-rich leafy green vegetables. If on average they have 3 portions a month, and then we get to a point where actually it's a weekly portion and eventually 3 portions a week, we can track this change of improvement throughout the process without looking for all or nothing. It's I'm eating the leafy greens every day or I'm never eating it. No, we can just start to look at what is being included more often.